This morning, we woke up to what was reported as a shocking number: 33%. 33% approval for President Joe Biden, a disastrously low number. And the number is true, but we're going to contextualize it. It's just one poll. And while overall Joe Biden's approval is not great, it's still better than Trump's was at this point in time in Trump's presidency. So without context, the 33% number is not worth that much, but it is not a good number. So let's start with that 33% number. We have a new Quinnipiac poll. And indeed, the poll finds, and Quinnipiac is a good pollster, that only 33% of Americans approve of the way that Joe Biden is handling his job. This is a tie for the low ever received by Biden in this poll with January 12th, when it was also 33%. Now, the main question for me is, why is it low and what could raise it? Really the key two questions with any presidential approval poll. But then we're also going to compare it to other approval polls. So looking at the Quinnipiac poll, we find that only 39% of Americans approve of Joe Biden's handling of the response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. 39%. That's a much lower number than we saw weeks ago in other polls. Now, part of it could be the way the poll is done, and part of it likely is a decline in approval of how Joe Biden has handled that situation. Interestingly, more than 8 in 10 Americans believe Russian President Vladimir Putin is a war criminal, something that Donald Trump hesitates to say, and we will get to that a little bit later. 10% believe Putin is not a war criminal. 7 in 10 think Putin ordered Russian troops to kill civilians in Ukraine. 14% think that he did not. So this is the Quinnipiac poll. Well, what about more generally speaking? What's going on with Joe Biden's approval? Well, for that, one of the best places to look is the 538 Biden approval, which looks at an average of recent approval polls. And when we look there, we find that it's not as bad for Joe Biden. Certainly, it's not good. And as you can see, early in his presidency, Joe Biden in the mid-50s in terms of approval, then moving into the low 50s, crossing below the 50% line, getting down into the mid-40s, and then into the low 40s. And most recently, we see this little decline from about 42 to 41. If you look more deeply at the specific polls making that up, and this is where we would say, okay, where does the Quinnipiac poll fit into this? We see that this recent Quinnipiac University poll is here, which has Joe Biden at 33. That is an outlier in the sense that all of the other recent polls have Joe Biden between 38 and 44. Does that mean the Quinnipiac poll is wrong? Well, no, it doesn't mean it's wrong, but it does mean it is sort of an outlier. And when 538 applies what they call an adjustment, the 33 becomes 37. So needless to say, this is not a good situation for Joe Biden. And the question now is going to be, well, what needs to happen for that to change? Because these are not great numbers. The next question would be, are these guaranteed to be destructive numbers looking forward at the midterms and potentially at 2024? Well, one thing we can look at there is, how does the current Biden approval, 41 point something, how does that compare with other presidents at this point in their presidencies? If you look at Biden versus Trump, you find that at this point in time, Trump actually was at 40.6. I mean, it's more or less the same, but Biden's approval today is slightly better than was Trump's at this point in his presidency. If you compare Biden to basically any other recent president, you see that Barack Obama had a higher approval at this point in time. George W. Bush had a dramatically higher approval thanks to 9/11. Bill Clinton had a higher approval than Biden. George H.W. Bush had a much higher approval than Biden. Reagan had a higher approval than Biden. You have to go all the way back to Jimmy Carter to even get close. And even then, just at this time, Carter also did better than Biden, but soon Jimmy Carter started seeing a reduction. What does this mean for 2022? It's not good. It's not good. There's really no way to spin it that feels empirically honest. And I know that you're going to see hot takes from Democratic pollsters and operatives and analysts that are saying, well, listen, the midterms are not necessarily a referendum on Biden and XYZ, but if this doesn't change, it's going to be a disaster for Democrats. There's just no way around it. It is going to be potentially one of the worst midterms for Democrats in a very long time. Now, what could change it? Many things could change it. If the American perception of the economy improves between now and November, it's good for Democrats. And I know many of you will say, but David, the numbers are good for the economy. You're absolutely right. But we did a story early last week about the difference between an economic reality and a political reality. Jobs numbers are dramatically better now than when Joe Biden took over. But a third of the country doesn't think so. A third of the country thinks jobs have been lost. I know we can say, oh, those stupid. If that's what they believe, they're going to vote on that basis. And so what matters is what people believe. Some kind of satisfactory resolution in Ukraine, and it's hard to use that language given the death and destruction that's been seen there. Some kind of politically satisfactory resolution will likely be helpful to Democrats because I believe that the midterms are a referendum on Joe Biden. I think there's no way to argue that they are not, but not good numbers for Joe Biden. And if nothing changes, that's the key. If nothing changes, it will be a disastrous midterm for Democrats. If you disagree with me, let me know. Tell me how the current numbers translate to an okay midterm for Democrats. I just don't see it. One of our sponsors is Real Paper. Our forests on Earth remove about a quarter of the carbon that humans put into the atmosphere. And yet every day we're cutting down tens of thousands of trees to make single-use paper products. Real Paper is fighting back. Real Paper makes paper products that are truly sustainable. Their paper towels and toilet paper are 100% plastic free, made without any virgin tree fibers, meaning no new trees are cut down. But Real Paper is super soft and durable. You don't have to sacrifice quality to help the planet. These are great products from a usability standpoint. I'm using Real Paper at home. You can do a one-time purchase. They also have easy subscriptions. All orders ship in 100% recyclable, plastic-free packaging. Everybody needs paper towels and toilet paper. Buy ones that you will feel good about. And they're giving my audience 30% off a subscription when you go to realpaper.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is down below.